Hello everybody, my name is Joshua and I'd like to welcome you back to another episode of Coffee, Cats, and King, where we discuss books, both new and old. I will share with you pictures of my cats, so make you wish they were your cats, and I will drink enough coffee for me and everybody watching. My mug today is from one of the recent trips that my wife and I took, this time to Luray Caverns here in Virginia. My shirt is, of course, from X-Files, and my face is that of a soon-to-be 28-year-old man who is questioning what he has done in the last 28 years, aside from marrying an incredibly beautiful, incredibly talented woman. So, and this soon-to-be 28-year-old man is here today with a November wrap-up. I did not end up doing a wrap-up in October, but honestly, those are all books that I read every October. You guys pretty much just would have been listening to me gush about how wonderful those books are again, so it would have been kind of boring. This month, though, or rather last month, I had a lot of 5-star reviews, and I had a lot of lower ratings. So, and I want to say, you know, some people, they only want to give a book 5 stars if it completely blows them away and becomes one of their, you know, top 10 books or whatever. And for me, it's a 5-star review if I enjoy myself thoroughly throughout, enough so that even if there are issues, it doesn't bother me. I'm not focused on the issues. And I say that because I'm very particular, in case you guys haven't noticed, when it comes to grammatical errors and that sort of thing in books. So if I can ignore that sort of thing and still enjoy the book wholeheartedly from page 1 to the end, it's a 5-star review. It does not have to be one of my top 10 of the decade or anything like that. Now, that said, one of the books in here has skyrocketed up to one of my favorite books, and would probably make it into one of my top 10s currently because I just enjoyed it that much. But we'll get to that later on. So, let's start with a new series. Now, we have seen a recent resurgence in the sort of Goosebumps spin-off series. We're seeing a lot of those come out lately, and you've seen me reading one of them, the Creepover series from PJ Knight, and there's a couple of those books down here from last month. Probably going to be a few more in January. And this is another one. This is one that I actually helped back on Kickstarter. So they just came out, and I have the first 4. I read the first 4, so I'll be getting to all of them. But this is the first one in the new Freightland series. And what is also really exciting about this one is that he was able to get the original illustrator, Mr. Tim Jacobus, from the Goosebumps series to make the covers and layouts for this new Freightland series. So, first one is R.H. Grimley with The Wild Man of Shaggy Creek. Love the cover. Excellent, of course. And you see it very much follows the style of a Goosebumps book. If you were to just have it sitting away somewhere and saw the back, you would think it was a Goosebumps book. R.H. Grimley is a new author, or at least new author under this name. And what's so exciting about this is that it is very much the Goosebumps style. You can tell just how inspired he was by R.L. Stine, but Mr. Grimley is, I think, a better writer. I mean, I enjoyed myself thoroughly throughout. I didn't find any issues. I thought that he took a slightly more mature approach. Not that it is unsafe for children to read, but just that he doesn't dumb it down. You know, he doesn't pretend like a 12-year-old is an 8-year-old, which I found was sometimes the case in some of the older Goosebumps books, but not here. Very, very much enjoyed it. If you enjoy Goosebumps, if you enjoy the Creepover series or any of those others, I highly suggest picking these up. They should be available on Amazon now. And first 4 books, and Mr. H.R. Grimley is continuing on with the series. I'm immensely excited. I can't wait to see what this guy does. Okay, now for one that was not quite as exciting. The first ebook that I read was The Atlantis Gene by A.G. Riddle. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. It was 2.5 stars for me. I kept trying and kept trying, kept giving it a chance. I really probably should have DNF'd it, but more than anything, I just found it ludicrous and could not suspend my belief. This is more of a almost a medical thriller action. I don't even know what you want to call it, other than, you know, it's more like in the realm of Da Vinci Code, I guess. I didn't care for it. I'm not going to talk much else about it. Following that, I picked up for the first time Anne Rice's Interview with the Vampire. I say it's actually a pretty crummy cover. I mean, what does that... It's not a very exciting cover. But, of course, very famous book, very famous series. I don't need to really give you much background information. You've either read it and have your own opinions about Anne Rice and her work, or you haven't, and, you know, like me, maybe you'll pick it up one day and give it a try. For me, Interview with the Vampire ended up as a 4-star read, and it was with some difficulty that I ended up rating it. There were a lot of instances where I would go 50 or 60 pages and just read, loving every minute of it, and it was a 5-star read. And then I'd get into a 30 or 40 page slump where there was just nothing happening, and I was bored. Honestly, I was kind of bored, and, you know, I felt like I wanted to start skimming just so that I could get to the good parts again, you know? And that's really how the entire book went for me. And so it was a tough decision on how to rate it exactly. I really enjoyed parts of it. I really hated parts of it. But at the end of the day, the good outweighed the bad. 4 stars. It was not a perfect read. There were definitely things that I wish Miss Rice would have changed, and perhaps she does in some of her later books. I don't know. But I will definitely find out. Now, for another 4-star read, and another one of those Goosebumps spin-off series. This is the Creepover series by P.J. Knight. This one is number 4, The Show Must Go On. Now, you guys have seen me review some of these books at this point. I am very excited about this author, about P.J. Knight. Doing great things. Again, I think in a lot of ways better than R.L. Stine. Maybe not at the very beginning, when Stine was really at the top of his game, but as he went on, he started kind of phoning it in, and so in that regard, P.J. Knight is kicking his tail. I'm enjoying every one of these. Each one of them so far has been a 4 or 5-star read. This was probably the weakest of them so far, and this is a 4-star for me, so I still very much enjoyed it. This one is about a cursed play, and for some odd reason, the school, many years after an awful tragedy, decide that they're going to try and put this play on again, and hope for the best. Hope that this time nobody dies. So it's a little bit Phantom of the Auditorium, if we're talking Goosebumps, but at the same time it's not. So just give it a read. Again, it's good stuff. I'm very impressed by P.J. Knight, and I can't wait to dive further into the Creepover series. This next one was one of the Blind Date with a Book books that my mother got for me, so we didn't know what we were getting, and this one is Tim Che with Final. Now, again, I'm not going to spend a huge amount of time on this. If you are the type of person who only reads Christian fiction and Christian literature, you will probably enjoy Tim Che's Final. For me, it felt like a very watered-down version of the Left Behind series, which, for those who don't know, the Left Behind series is kind of the golden standard for Christian fiction at this point. I felt like Tim Che read Left Behind, said, hey, this is a really good idea, let me take it and make something of it, and then he just gives a very watered down version. I didn't care for it really. It was 2 stars for me. Alright, this next one is an anthology that I read on Kindle. This is Unbound, Stories of Transformation, Love, and Monsters. And let me give you guys a second to enjoy that beautiful cover there. This one starts out very strong. I very much enjoyed this. It ended up being a 4-star read for me, or kind of somewhere between a 4 and 4.5, honestly. There were a few stories that brought it down for me that I just didn't care for, but really that's the case in any anthology. That said, there is a level of originality in this anthology that I'm not used to seeing, and I was very much impressed. It seemed like for the most part all of these authors were firing on all cylinders, giving it their all in these stories, and really trying to get their message out there. And there's some very wholesome messages in this collection, but it also tackles some really difficult scenarios, situations, tackles a lot of the social issues that we have now. But excellent collection. Like I said, it's somewhere between a 4 and a 4.5 for me. It wasn't perfect. There were just a few that I wish they would have been tweaked a little more. But overall, this is one that I would suggest most of you pick up either on Kindle or in a physical copy. It's really great, and these authors, you can tell that they really care about the subject matter that they're writing about. All right, now this book. This is one that I said was a 5-star read for me. It is also, however, now probably would make it on my top 20 list if I were to make a top 20 list, because I enjoyed this book way more than I thought I was going to. I had a lot of fun with this, and I did not expect it whatsoever. That is Chet Williamson with Lowland Rider. Now, this is about a man that loses his family in, I can't even say an accident. He loses his family to violence, to gang violence in particular. And he kind of loses his mind when this happens. So he ends up going down into the subway system and deciding that he's going to live there. He finds out that there is this whole social structure. There's this whole group of people that exist solely down in the subway systems, living off of whatever people throw away, and surviving, hopping train to train. So he becomes one of these people. And meanwhile, there is this figure known as Enoch. And when Enoch comes around, horrible things happen. On top of that, there are stories of police brutality and police corruption. And it's a great book all around. It's definitely horror, but again, there is a surprising amount of social commentary that is relevant today, considering that this book was written almost 50 years ago. But again, this is another one that I would highly suggest if you happen to stumble upon a copy online, in a used bookstore, on eBay, whatever, pick it up. I think you'll really enjoy it. Give it that first 20 or 30 pages to get into the flow. I will say this is a brutal book. You are going to read some things that will probably really upset you. And if they don't upset you, then I think you're probably just a little bit too desensitized, and you need to take a step back and evaluate some things. All right, so these next 3 all kind of go together. They are the next 3 books in the Freightland series that I talked about. The first being Why I Don't Sleep on Feather Beds. Beautiful cover. So cool. And again, the classic Goosebumps style. I was a little concerned when I read The Wild Man of Shaggy Creek that despite how good it was going to be kind of a one-off, and that after that R.H. Grimley would lose a little of his flair. But that's not the case here. Again, he takes clearly takes inspiration from the old Goosebumps books, but makes an entirely new story, something very original, very cool, and I enjoyed the heck out of this book. Again, 5 stars easily, and I was so excited about it. I had to see if this guy really was on a roll, and if I was going to get 4 books in a row that just kicked R.L. Stine's butt. So as soon as I finished that, I jumped into The Bones at the Bottom of the Lake. And again, just freaking awesome stuff. This one is about some kids that are spending the summer at a cabin on the lake, and very early in, this is not a spoiler, very early in, they start pulling up bones from the lake and realize that they have an entire body down there. And just as they're pulling the last of these bones out, this girl comes sprinting out of the forest and tells them, no, you have to throw them all back. You have to throw them all back. You don't want them to get out. And then runs away and disappears. And things go from there. So, again, H.R. Grimley is a heck of a writer. I'm hard-pressed normally to tell other adults, hey, you should check this out. You know, because I myself, I grew up with Goosebumps. I love Goosebumps. I love that style. But obviously it's for a younger audience. Here with H.R. Grimley, I feel like any of you who is into horror in any way could pick these up and enjoy it as an adult, as a teen, as a tween, as a child, as a toddler, as a wee little thing in your mommy's belly, whatever it may be. I think you would enjoy these books. And so again, I jumped into the 4th one directly after. And this one I was really excited about too, because I thought it was going to be a lot of fun right from the start. This is Donut Shop of Doom. And indeed, this one did not disappoint. It's about a donut shop that opens up in this boy's town, and everyone seems oddly obsessed with these donuts. People who have no business eating these donuts, who are health nuts and won't touch a sweet, are now obsessed with the donuts from this donut shop. But this one boy, he hasn't had any of these donuts yet because he keeps going back trying to get an apple fritter. The only donut he wants is an apple fritter, and they never have them. They only have these chocolate donuts, okay? And clearly we know something spooky is going on, something weird is going on. You know that from the cover. And man, I just enjoyed the heck out of it. I mean, I sat down to read the first couple pages, and I ended up reading through the whole thing all in one sitting. And I wanted more. I can't wait for the next R.H. Grimley. You got to pick these books up, guys. If you're into that kind of thing, pick it up. Give it a try. I mean, man, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. It makes me excited in the same way that Goosebumps used to make me excited as a kid, you know? All right, so finally getting back into adult fiction for a little while anyway. My next Kindle read was a collection titled Dead Souls. This is short stories by Andrew French. Now, this is Andrew's first collection, and considering that, I was very impressed. It ended up being a 4-star read for me, and there were definitely some issues in editing, and certainly some issues in just the overall flow of some of the stories. Aside from that, I very much enjoyed the stories. They were pretty varied. Took a lot of the classic urban legends and twisted them, made them his own, made his own versions of them. So I very much enjoyed it. I love that kind of stuff, the old classics. And that's what Andrew French does here. It's good stuff. He does now have one short book out. I think it's only like 250 pages, but I'm definitely going to check it out. I think that with some tweaking, Mr. Andrew French shows a lot of promise, though, as an upcoming horror author. All right, getting into some fantasy here. This is Michelle Baker with Borderline. Now, you guys know I picked this up a long time ago in one of my hauls, and I was very excited for it because the main character not only suffers from borderline personality disorder, but the main character is also disabled. She She had a failed suicide attempt, and she lost both of her legs and severely disfigured herself, but survived the attempt. So now she is basically living in a home, letting other people care for her because she just doesn't give a crap anymore. And this woman shows up one day and offers her a job working for a big film director. Now that's what she did prior to her suicide attempt. So she figures, you know what, I have absolutely nothing going on in life. I'm just going to see what happens with it. And then she ends up in all sorts of zany, crazy wackiness that basically felt like Men in Black, but with fairies instead of aliens. So, and that makes it sound silly. It's not silly. There is humor, but it's also very bleak and very realistic in its portrayal of mental illness and in its portrayal of what it is like to live a life with a disability. And what I really loved is it's not even just the main character. Every supporting character in this story suffers from some sort of mental or physical disability, and it's part of the plot. There's a reason for it, but I loved the representation because it didn't feel forced in any way. Everything moved smoothly through the story. Overall, I very much enjoyed this book. It is part of a series, a trilogy, I believe, and I plan to pick up the other two. I don't know when, with everything going on, but I definitely want to pick up the other two. One of you wonderful subscribers out there, Cassie, I believe you told me that you just picked up all 3 books. So if you get to the second and third one before me, kindly let me know what you think, because I'm dying to get to it. I know it's going to be a while before I can. So 5 stars for me, guys. If you're looking for a book with representation for those with handicaps, or a book with representation for those with mental illness, if you want to have some serious discussions about those things, Borderline is a great book for you. Now this next one also deals with mental illness, but not in a very effective way. And that is Burn More with The Brain Drips Yellow. Now I was really excited about this one because there were basically no reviews up on Goodreads or no information about it. I just knew there was a man who was kind of slowly losing his mind. His reality was far different than everything that was going on in his head, and that's kind of all I knew. This was a very bizarre book. It was so surreal at times that it almost felt more like I was reading bizarro fiction than just fiction, you know? I'm not going to talk a lot about it. I'm going to give it a 2.5 or 3 stars. I don't know, there were parts that I really enjoyed, and a lot of philosophy that, you know, I could kind of just lose myself in and, you know, enjoy considering and thinking about myself. But then there were other moments that just lost me completely, and I felt like the author needs a lot of work. He needs a lot of self-editing, and then some professional editing. So 2.5, 3 stars. If you pick it up for a couple bucks and you're interested in a weird read, maybe give it a try, but I really can't recommend it wholeheartedly. 2 more books to go. The last Kindle is another one by Miss Sarah Clancy. This is The Harvest. Now this one ended up being a 3.5 star read for me. As some of you may remember, I have read Sarah Clancy before. I read another series of hers. I was very impressed by the first one. The second one felt very much the same as the first, and so she kind of lost me past that point because it was the same issues as well. This book, though, is part of a different trilogy. It was good. There were parts of it that I very much enjoyed, but I definitely see the same kinds of issues cropping up in her books. She seems to have an issue with characterization, and more than that, with dialogue. There is some truly atrocious dialogue in this book. Now, that said, she knows how to ramp up the horror and give you a really fast-paced sort of horror movie feel in a scene. She is good at that, and there are some really great scenes in regards to that. Towards the very beginning of the book, there's a man driving his motorcycle down the road at night when all of a sudden he starts feeling what it feels like hail is coming down hitting him, and he's kind of, you know, he's trying to drive, he's super tired, but he's also looking and he realizes that he's not in a hailstorm. He is being pelted by thousands and thousands of teeth. So, if that sort of imagery gets to you, then this is definitely a book for you to give a try to. It is very cheap on Kindle, and it is part of a series. I think I will definitely pick up the second one to see what Sarah Clancy does, but 3.5 stars for me in this start to the Bell Witch trilogy. And then the very final book that I read for the month is another creepover, and same as I was saying for H.R. Grimley, PJ Knight is just impressing the heck out of me with these books. I've enjoyed every one so far, and I really enjoyed this one. This was my favorite one so far out of the creepover series, and that is There's Something Out There. Now, I think this one was my favorite because she really pushed the boundaries in regards to what is acceptable in a kid's book. Things get very gruesome at times in this book. I'm not going to spoil anything, of course, but the ending felt like an adult book, and just in regards to how bleak and real it felt. So I loved that. I'm definitely going to continue on with this creepover series. Again, I highly suggest that series. I highly suggest the Freightland series. I'm so impressed with the level of horror that people are bringing out for kids now. You know, for a while it was very depressing. There was just nothing good coming out for that age group, and now I'm seeing a resurgence, and I love it. I cannot wait to see where these two lead us. And yeah, that's it, guys. I've talked enough for this particular video. I'm not going to give any cat footage because this is kind of a longer one, but I'll give you some good cat footage on the next one. I want to go on and wrap things up. I got a lot to do today, and we have Monday tomorrow. I have a long day of work, and then I'm going to pick up my love. I'm so excited. Cannot wait for it. You guys are probably going to find me creepy in the next couple videos because I'm going to have such a big smile on my face. It's just never going to go away because I'll have my wife back. So, thank you all for watching as always. I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day. Get a good start to the work week. And guys, just stay safe out there. Enjoy yourselves. Read good books. Drink good coffee. Cheers.